Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Higher Education Deep Dive for Fusion 2023. We're really happy to have all of you here. My name is Jack Panett. I am the Senior Director of Product Management for Higher Education, and
I'm Delia Kuto, Director of Education Solutions Engineering at D2L. Great to be here.
We are super excited to show you a bunch of stuff during this Higher Education Deep Dive. If you've seen the Solution Spotlight recording already, that's fantastic. If not, please check that out as well. We will be covering some of the same material that's in the Solution Spotlight, but our goal today is to go into more details about how these great things from D2L can be used specifically in a higher education context. And to start us off, I want to talk a little bit about how we create impressive learning moments. And specifically, I want to talk about video. Video is incredibly important to learner engagement, and we've done a lot with video over the past couple of years. We're not slowing down in that momentum. And I want to make sure that you're aware that you have access to some pretty amazing video tools, including the Media Library. Now, Media Library is a new tool for collecting all of the videos on the streaming platform that is included by default with Brightspace. And I know that some of you have this turned on already and are using it. I also know that not everybody has it turned on yet. So this is a really big thing for faculty experience in particular, and it's useful because it collects together all of the videos that you use across all of your courses. So if you're a big user of Video Note, for example, which is an amazing tool that can be used to record short videos for things like giving feedback on student work or posting video and announcements, or including video communication inside your discussions. It's amazing to be able to have all of the tools collected together in one place. It was turned on last year. It kind of exploded in usage alongside a big increase in general video being used in the platform when we introduced streaming services, not just for those video notes, but also for videos that you place in content, so instructional videos. We went up to 10 million views per day kind of average for a while. And in fact, it spiked even higher during semester start this past school year. It spiked up as high as 18 million views in a single day. So pretty impressive adoption. But since I know that not all of you have Media Library turned on yet, I hope that you will go back to your campuses and get it turned on after this. Delia, I think you have an example to show us of Media Library.
Yeah, certainly. So let's get into my Brightspace site, which I'm in as an instructor, and I have access to the Media Library here through the nav bar. Now, I've been uploading and creating videos here, either by recording from my webcam, like Jack mentioned with a Video Note here, or uploading videos. Let's have a look at one of the videos that I've already uploaded on Ohm's Law and what it looks like for my learners before I put that into Insert Stuff. So you can see the video here. Now, I'm talking about a lot of different things with Ohm's Law, so I actually went in and edited using Media Library to add chapters to the video to help my students navigate. And also, I used the auto-generated captioning ability of Media Library to put in captions, so they can select those here. And if they prefer, they can view the transcript instead. Now, the great thing about the captioning and the transcript is that it's fully searchable as well. So if my students want to search for a certain keyword, they can find all of the instances on the timeline where that keyword, like voltage, comes up in the video, allowing them to really use my videos to review and study on the materials too in the way that they would prefer. So how did I end up editing that video in Media Library? Let's go into the edit view of this video where I can see, again, my webcam recording or my uploaded video on the left. On the right, we see those chapters that I created. They're now editable. I can add additional chapters and the closed captioning too. So that's where I can auto-generate the captions. They were already auto-generated for me. If I have captions too that were generated from a third-party system, I can upload those here too. Regardless of how I get those captions in, I can edit them too. So if there are any spelling errors or anything that I want to change, really easy for me to do that. And lastly, I can edit the video itself. So if I want to put any cuts to the video, either at the beginning, the end, or the middle, I can do that. And rest assured, none of my edits are forever. I can always go back in the revision history and undo anything that I want to undo. So pretty easy. And best part is that I can use this video now across all of my courses through insert stuff.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Delia. I love seeing the example of the automated captioning. This is actually a great example of how we use artificial intelligence in Brightspace. Some of you may know there's been a lot of attention on artificial intelligence recently, but this is a way that we kind of seamlessly build it into what you're doing in the platform. And in fact, if you've tried an auto captioning system for video before, maybe a couple of years ago, I highly encourage you to come try it now in Brightspace. The AI has gotten a lot better. It's a really nice tool to use. You can still use all of the video workflows that you normally do when you're in context in the middle of a particular course, but Media Library is just an amazing place to collect together all of those videos, whether they're instructional videos that you've added to your content area or video notes that you've recorded. And it also provides us a really nice place to add further enhancements to video. And Delia, I think you have something to show us, a little extra special thing that's available for folks using Creator Plus.
I certainly do, Jack. So let's go back to the media library, in which no matter if you have Brightspace Core or Creator Plus, you have the ability to, again, upload video files or create recordings. But if you have Creator Plus, you have something a little extra special when you hit Create Recording. So everyone has the ability to record their webcam. Hello, everyone. But the Creator Plus folks have an additional capability of sharing their screen. So this is great because I can select a whole screen, or a window or an application. I'll pick our presentation here. Beautiful, that looks great. And now I can have a multimedia presentation with side-by-side webcam and screen recording. Or if I prefer, I can turn my camera off and do just audio and screen. So it's something a little extra special for Creator Plus clients. And again, really easy to use across your courses by inserting those videos through insert stuff. Now, we've seen a lot about how we can use Media Library and Brightspace Core, as well as Capture Web in Creator Plus to create some great video-based learning moments. But if you saw the solution spotlight, you saw that Capture Web is not the only great thing about Creator Plus. Creator Plus also allows you to create some really great page-based learning moments too. So in the solution spotlight, we saw some pretty impressive before and afters. Let's have a look at those two on the new elements to Creator Plus. First, we have the carousel. So this is a great way to take multi-item content and format it in a way that's easier to digest and pretty fun to rotate through. We have layouts that help you design your page to look clean and professional like a magazine. And my personal favorite, a fully accessible hotspot. Great way to teach a whole lot in one engaging interactive interface for your learners. So this content and these new elements look great, but how easy is it to use and edit this as an instructor? Let's go back to our site and have a look by editing one of the pages we created to make it even snazzier. All right, so I'm going to go into my course. Now I'm in the content tool, and I happen to be using the new content experience in this course. You may be more familiar with the classic content experience. You may have a nice little opt-in, opt-out feature here where you can switch between the experiences. Regardless of what experience you use, the features that we're about to see are within the Brightspace editor. So that's equally available across both experiences. Now, here's the content that we created in Creator Plus, which we made pretty spiffy rather, with the panels. I like what I've done so far with the panels. I like how the now we have our podcast host and guest speaker pictures on the left-hand side with their bios on the right. But I'd really love to highlight that Dr. Christy Ford here is the host and Dr. David Lefebvre is the guest speaker. So I think I've seen a Creator Plus element called tabs that might help me do that. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Edit. And we're going to see our lovely Brightspace editor here that, again, everyone has available, Brightspace Core or new content experience or classic content experience. We'll go ahead and expand that so we can have a look at our content. And I'm going to copy the content that I created with the panels and go ahead and click on the plus icon in the Brightspace editor to look at Insert Element as part of Creator Plus. And there is our tabs feature. So I can go ahead and put in host here and guest as my 2 tabs. And I'm going to use my clipboard to copy what we just copied earlier, or paste rather, what we copied earlier from my clipboard history in here. Excellent, that's looking good. Let's have a look at the preview. Much better. I can much more easily see who the host is and who the guest is for this podcast episode, and go ahead and insert that interactive Creator Plus element into my content for my learners. So pretty easy, super fast. I feel like if I can do it, anyone can do it. So it's pretty much magic. Now, Jack, I think you have one last item for us on creating learning moments. Maybe?
Yeah, and I actually saw a little hint of it when you were hitting that drop down, Delia. We like to make these big, expansive, interesting additions to our capabilities in Brightspace, but we also pay very, very close attention to the smaller things that folks ask for and inputs from things like the product ID exchange. And I saw right there, you have it, insert code. This one is not restricted to Creator Plus. This is available to absolutely everybody, but we have lots of folks teaching STEM and coding and other kinds of interesting subjects who asked us for a real code highlighter inside the content area. This has the ability to give proper highlighting and formatting to all kinds of computer code and is one of those small but mighty enhancements that we're really glad to be rolling out to absolutely everybody using Brightspace. Okay, so as highlighted on the main stage, we've been continuing to transform the core teaching and learning workflows inside of Brightspace. A lot of investment has gone into this. Our goal in all of these updates is to improve consistency and ease of use. We want to keep all the power features that Brightspace has always been known for, the stuff that the instructional designers love, but we also want to make it much faster, more consistent, more easy for every faculty member to use these tools as well. And the big place that we've been investing recently is in the creation and editing experience for our core assessment capabilities, first with assignments and then with quizzes, and now this year with discussion. So I'm very excited that we've managed to get through all 3 of these. It's a big milestone. These are the 3 sort of core assessment capabilities inside of Brightspace, and completely rebuilding all of those experiences with no migration necessary and with a lot of safety and a lot of participation for folks in the client community built into the process. It's been a really, really fun journey. The latest set of changes that we made this year was introducing this new version of all of the workflow and experience for the discussions creation. It uses the same familiar design pattern that we use for assignments and quizzes. The consistency is really key here. The goal is that anybody who has come in and used the assignments tool one time can then go into the quizzes tool for the first time or the discussions tool for the first time and feel instantly at home. They recognize what's going on. They're confident that they're going to be able to create the activity type that they want. They know where to find the components on screen, and they don't need to have training or look at documentation in order to be successful at using those tools as a first-time user. As you can see in this new discussion experience, all the basics of what faculty needs to create a new discussion topic are presented in the main panel area on the left, with all the additional options just a click away in that right panel if you need them. No more multiple tabs to go through, everything is in one place. And this new experience was introduced behind a flag earlier this year. And the big news is that that new experience is on by default for everybody this month. In addition to all of these great inputs to the design and the workflows and the creation and editing experience, we are also focusing on features. So I think, Delia, you're going to show us a feature addition that we've been able to build into this new experience and discussions.
Certainly, Jack. You really provided a great example of a bigger change to faculty ease of use for creating discussions. But as you mentioned, we continue to make iterative changes too that really help. So those of you who like to do fancy stuff in Brightspace and extensively use our many release conditions, I agree, they're great. You'd be happy to hear that we heard your feedback rather on needing additional pathways, specifically based on replies to posts in discussions. That gives you more granular instructional design control in your courses, so we delivered on that earlier this year. It's a great feature to use. We've been hearing from you, for example, in a peer assessment activity where you want to ensure that you have those peer assessors replying to at least 2 posts before they move on in their learning path. Small stuff like this can make a big impact, so keep the great pie ideas coming. Now, Jack, going back to some of those big changes, I think you have some more updates for us on making some great teaching workflows.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to talk a little bit about updates to the content experience. And just to ground the discussion, I guess, we do have 2 different content experiences. Many of you have heard us say, oh, the classic content experience or the new content experience. And sometimes this can be a little bit anxiety inducing for folks. So I want to make sure that you have nothing to worry about. We introduced the new content experience a couple of years back as a drastically simplified kind of look and feel for content. It's the same content model underneath. As was the case when we were introducing our new workflows for the assignment tool or the quiz tool or the discussion tool, there's a very easy flag that can be used to switch between the 2 content experiences. So from classic content to new content experience, it doesn't put you through a migration. You're not going to break anything. Everything's going to be fine. It's safe to test. But the goal with the new content experience is not to have sort of a timed window where we are going to push you into updating to the new version. It's simply a different experience that is useful for folks that want something that is much more simplified compared to the classic content experience. What this means in practice is that we have a lot of folks in our K-12 client community who are using the new content experience specifically because it is so simple. And we do have some programs and some institutions in higher ed who are using that new content experience in production as well, which I think is awesome. But for the rest of you, if you're dependent on some of the finer feature details that are in the classic content experience, it is totally okay to continue using the classic content experience. Our goal with the new content experience is to make investments and making it much, much cooler so that it is attractive for you to try it out and potentially eventually switch over to it. So this is not a you only have a short window in order to move to the new experience kind of a situation. One of the things that we're doing is taking everything that we learned working directly with you on those updates to the assignment and quiz and discussion tools and applying those learnings to how we can make things better and cooler and more interesting in new content. And where that's coming out right now is with some additions to the way that activities are actually displayed inside of that new content experience, specifically those assignment and quiz and discussion activities. So it's super cool that we invested in all of those workflows around creating and editing those activities and in grading those activities as well. But what happens when you are an instructor and it's just a normal day in the middle of the week, in the middle of a term, and you're just going in to see, hey, how are people doing on this assignment that's intended to be completed at the end of this week? I want to just check on the status. The new material that we've put in place for the new content experience and that we're in early testing with some clients involves both a revamped display for those activities inside the new content experience, as well as a brand new completion summary. And I am really excited about that completion summary. It's a common view for showing you as an instructor, hey, this assignment is going to be due at the end of the week. How many people have touched it yet? Have students submitted some files to those assignments? Which of my students have special access, like an accommodation that's been applied that might give them extra time? Same thing for a quiz that may be in progress. Same thing for a discussion that's collecting posts and replies all week long. I want to be able to quickly see all of the students in my course, and I want to see their status of completion or progress on that activity. The new completion summary designs and displays make this much faster and much easier, and I think it's going to be a great improvement. So look forward to hearing more about that as we move it through initial testing and some pilot testers and into production later on this year. Currently, we're done with the instructor view of these new screens, and we're in process of completing the learner view of these new screens as well. You'll hear much more about it as time goes on over the rest of this year. Okay. Along with making this kind of improvement, we are also making improvements to a lot of feature areas within our assessments. So you saw one special one with the discussions tool that Delia showed you just a moment ago, but we're also going to talk about some additions that we're making to the experience with quizzes. This is about how to optimize your ability to assess learners, whether you're assessing learners through quizzes or outcomes or getting data, assessment data across all of your learners and across all of your courses. So here's a summary of the updates that we've been making over this year based on your feedback and your inputs in areas including the product ID exchange. In February, we added an ability to display not just the due date for a quiz, but also the availability dates for a quiz inside of the calendar. This makes it more consistent with the way that assignments also operate in the calendar. We also added some additional pagination options for questions inside of the quiz editing experience, which is something that was requested by faculty members. In April, we made some enhancements to the display that's shown to learners when they leave a quiz. When it is partially complete, we tell them specifically what's going to happen with your quiz. Are you going to be able to get back into it? Is the timer still running? We made those things much more clear. In June, we released some features to improve faculty workflows for larger quizzes. So if you're working with a massive quiz that has just tons and tons of quiz questions, or you have hundreds of questions in your quiz library, we made it much snappier so that the screens load much more quickly and it can scale up to include those large quizzes and have it be performant and feel really good to use. And then we also added the ability to move multiple items around on the screen using drag and drop. And now Delia is going to show you a big new change that we're coming out with in quiz timing.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. This month, we released some big new quiz timing features. These allow faculty to configure synchronous quizzes. So basically, any quiz that you want delivered at the same time for all your learners, like an online exam. Now, historically, the quiz tool has had a lot of settings on how to handle timing, grace periods, and so on. Very powerful, but based on your feedback, not super easy to determine which settings to use, but especially in delivering a quiz synchronously. So as you can see on the left, we've really streamlined those previous options to make it super simple. So now all that faculty have to do is go into quiz timing settings, choose synchronous quiz from the list, confirm whether you want to auto submit at the end of the enforced time limit, and you're done. That easy. On the right-hand side, you'll see that we also made some improvements to the learner experience while we were at it. So now learners can choose to hide or show the timer to reduce anxiety while taking a quiz. They can also receive warnings at certain time intervals, and learners can set a preference, so those settings are then remembered for future quizzes too. And we also added the ability for learners to review quiz instructions in the middle of a quiz without leaving the page. Super handy for them to do that without having to leave. We also simplified the quiz results page that shows after they're done a quiz or when they come back to see the results later. This was previously known as submission view. And as Jack mentioned a little bit earlier, don't forget those great create and edit activities screens. This month, the new quiz creation experience is universally enabled for all faculty too. So a lot of updates in 1 month, and you can read all about them in the July release notes today. Now, I don't just have quizzing updates for you. I also have some updates on some of our other assessment tools, including assignments. So if you saw the solution spotlight, you heard that a big change for assignments this year will be enabling multi-evaluator workflows. This will allow faculty to automatically distribute learner assignments to different evaluators, like teaching assistants, for example. And then you can collect and aggregate the grades and feedback from those evaluators, do quality checks, do whatever you need to do before publishing grades to learners when you're ready. We're currently running a pilot of this with a small number of faculty. We're going to be adding people to that pilot ahead of release later this year, so stay tuned. Now, whether you're using quizzes, assignments, or other methods of assessment, Brightspace also has some great features to align those assessments to measure outcomes and measure achievement on those outcomes. So some of you may be using the powerful features of competencies to do this today. A few years ago, we introduced the learning outcomes tool as an alternative. So earlier, Jack described how the new content experience was built to be a visually nice and simplified content experience. So those of you who like the classic experience can continue to use that and use the features that you love. But the goal with the new interface is that it's so delightful. It's got a lot of great stuff going on that you're going to want to give it a try. So we similarly did this approach with learning outcomes too. It's simplified, beautiful, it works seamlessly with that new content experience, so bonus, and it's something that we continue to add more capability to over time. What we're seeing here is one capability that many of you asked for in learning outcomes, which is course-specific achievement scale. So one of my favorite features of learning outcomes is that you can assign an achievement scale, but previously you had to set one for the entire Brightspace site and all courses within it. Now you can choose the appropriate achievement scale for different courses and have different achievement scales for a certain program, for example. So that's a really great additional feature. And now that we've talked a lot about assessing learners, let's go back to you, Jack, actually, to talk about a new way we can visualize all this lovely assessment data.
Yeah, absolutely. A ton of data gets collected when you're working through all of these assessments tools, and using that assessment data to help students is a big concern. We've built a lot of really great visualizations into Brightspace, both at the course level, as well as into optional dashboards in places like our Performance Plus package. But one of the things that we saw an opportunity to do is to take some of those great visualizations and bring them into other parts of your ecosystem on campus. So we are partnered with Ellucian, a really important student information system vendor, the most important student information system vendor in North America, at least. And they have a new product called Ellucian Experience. It's their fastest growing new platform. It's being adopted by a ton of higher education institutions. And in partnering with them, we've been able to take some of our visualizations around student behavior and student performance in their courses and bring them directly into Ellucian Experience cards. This is great for people like advisors who may be helping students or coaching them toward greater success. They're able to get at really important metrics of how students are performing in their courses, identify areas of concern and places where there may need to be some action taken directly within the Ellucian Experience. And it's a great partnership that we're really proud of and happy to be able to highlight today. So look for more options for us to move forward in bringing our great data visualizations out of Brightspace and into other workflows that you care about in the future as well. Speaking of student information systems, though, there is a really fun update that we're making around Course Merge that allows for instructors to really confidently self-serve both merging and unmerging their sections. As a lot of you know, at the beginning of every single semester, there's a big update of data coming from the SIS into Brightspace that includes all of the courses being taught and all of the rosters and so on. And it can be a kind of a stressful time. It can kind of be an overwhelming time for administrators who are getting lots of requests from faculty members for things like, hey, I'm teaching section 1 and section 3 of Intro to Rhetoric, but I only want there to be one Brightspace site. Can you merge those together for me? We're really happy to be right about to roll out this new update and visual redesign for that course merge that makes it drastically easier and, again, more visual and more accessible for faculty members to be able to just self-serve that interaction themselves. No needs to get help from an LMS administrator. Should make the semester start timeline a lot more calm and careful. That new SIS Course Merge capability is just in the middle of being released during July and August. And we look forward to seeing a lot of faculty members safely merging and unmerging course sections on their own. So lots of updates to the teaching and learning process. But now I want to move on to talking a little bit about lifelong learning. We know that you're using Brightspace really, really nicely for all of your for-credit degree-bearing programs. But there's also a growing need to use Brightspace and other educational technology tools for non-credit type of applications. So things like continuing education programs and professional development programs and short course offerings and upskilling partnerships with employers and stuff of that nature. We have a bunch of tools at D2L that are here to help you with those things. And before we get into the details of those, I just want to quickly highlight why we have multiple different tools. They are all for different use cases that you might have in your higher ed institutions. First off, we have Discover, which is an amazing internal catalog inside of Brightspace for people who already have a campus identity and are logging into Brightspace. Second, we have Course Merchant. Course Merchant is an external catalog that's meant to allow folks who are not yet part of the university or your higher ed institution and who do not yet have an identity with you to be able to create one and get themselves into a course or a program. Then we have D2L Wave, which is also sort of a catalog, but it's a super special one. It is specifically for helping employers who are offering education as a benefit. And it really helps them by simplifying all of the billing and management and processing around that particular item around offering education as a benefit. And finally, we have Course Publisher, which is an amazing tool that helps you take amazing learning experiences and courses that you've built inside of Brightspace and put them seamlessly out into other environments like an external LMS or a company's HR system without having a big IT project attached to it. So all of these are receiving new investment and new feature capabilities, and Delia is going to step you through a few of those.
Thank you, Jack. Let's start with Discover. So as Jack mentioned, this solves a specific need at your higher ed institution in having an internal catalog for your users. You could be using that for student clubs, or you could be using that for lifelong learning, such as faculty and staff PD. What's new with Discover is last year when we were together, we introduced this concept of enrollment rules for self-enrollment. Now we've made it easier to scale that up for multiple courses using the same rules. Being able to scale and search is important, as we know many of you are using Discover for a growing number of use cases as your internal catalog. Next, we have Course Merchant. Again, that was the external user catalog. So if somebody doesn't already have a login at your institution, they can sign up for one, see what continuing education or micro-credentialing courses are available for them to purchase, and do that all through this catalog. What's new with Course Merchant is that they were previously a partner of ours, but they have recently become a part of the D2L family. I know I'm thrilled to have them on board. We're already working with their team closer than ever. So you can look forward to seeing how this great catalog product continues to develop now that we work closer than ever before. And then we have Wave. So with Wave, as Jack mentioned, this is an extension of your channel to capture even more external users. So in addition to having your Course Merchant catalog, there are a growing number of organizations that have Wave catalogs to provide their employees with education as a benefit. Give them a catalog of learning across many great learning institutions, hopefully yours, if not already. And they do that for upskilling their employees. What's new in Wave is job profiles. So as an employee, I can look up recommended courses very easily based on my title in my organization or role. Now, we actually use Wave for our own upskilling at D2L. You can see a colleague of mine here through this animated GIF registering for a project management course. But personally, lately, I've been signing up for a lot of the great leadership courses offered by PowerEd. Thank you, Athabasca University, for those, by the way. They're beautiful, they're great. I've been really loving them. And I've been taking more and more to work up to my overall leadership certificate. So I hope to get that soon. Last but not least, we have Course Publisher, another great way to extend your reach to grab more external learners, but this time more in a business-to-business setting where you may be selling your courses to different organizations, and they want to incorporate those courses into their own LMS. And you can give them an AICC package or an LTI link for them to be able to do that. What's new is that now when you give them that course publisher LTI link to a recipient organization, they recognize you as an instructor on your side or instructors on their side too, as well as appropriate section assignments for your learners. So no more assuming that everyone that has the link is going to be a learner in a single section. Everyone has their appropriate role and everyone is in their appropriate section. Now, we've also added an enrollment cap by popular request. So if you're selling a certain number of seats for your courses to recipient organizations, you can now manage that pretty easily too. Now, Jack, I think you actually have one more bonus item for us when it comes to share learning, but this time for learners.
Yeah, that's right. So one of the things that we like to think about with learners is what happens when they are completing a learning project. A lot of you are using badges and certificates in Brightspace to reward learners or give them information about the programs that they've just completed. And learners want to brag about the learning that they've completed. So in Brightspace, in our awards tool, when a learner has been given a badge or a certificate, they can really easily now, with just a couple of clicks, move into posting that badge or certificate directly to their LinkedIn profile. This was a super popular request for folks using the awards tool in Brightspace. And the cool thing about it is that by those learners advertising their completion of your programs, you're also getting some advertisement too, because when somebody clicks through that LinkedIn profile and wants to see about that great badge or that great certificate that they're bragging about, they get to see that they completed it in your program. So this is a fun bit of advertisement, and we love to see learners celebrating their victories and celebrating their completions of courses and certificates and other programs. We have stepped you through a lot of things here today. We're showing some of these on screen. It's an overwhelming list. I hope what you've gotten out of our discussion today is that D2L is really invested in both advancing the state of learning technology with big redesigns, careful inputs of our workflows, making sure that those core workflows are up to date and modern and moving us into the future, and even introducing new capabilities for engagement, as we're doing with both Creator Plus and with the great updates to video and streaming video and editing that are part of Brightspace Core. But we're also doing a lot of small things. We pay very close attention to the things that faculty members tell us and that you LMS administrators tell us in places like the community and the product idea exchange. Big stuff is important. Lots and lots of small feature additions as well, satisfying those product idea exchange ideas. We're excited equally about both. We were able to cover a handful of them in today's session, and we hope that you will look for the rest throughout the rest of Fusion 2023 and on our community. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.